Almost all the real estate millionaires that I know started with zero or very little money. They didn't have great jobs, great careers, or any crazy skills. But they all did have one trait that allowed them to persevere through all of that and become millionaires really fast. And in this video, I'm gonna give you the process of how I did it, how they did it, and how you can do it next. First off, let's debunk the negative connotation of getting rich quick. You used to be fed all these commercials talking about getting rich quick, and many people fell for schemes that did not work. And then eventually people accepted that in order to become wealthy, it takes time. And so books like The Millionaire Next Door preach the concept that if you just work a normal job, save your money, be frugal, in time, you will become a millionaire. And this advice can work if you want to be rich in a really long time when $1 million means nothing because of inflation and you're too old to even enjoy your wealth and you've spent your entire life being cheap. The reality is you can get rich quick if you take the right actions. I see people starting businesses every year and becoming a millionaire in year one. I see people getting famous on YouTube and TikTok and becoming millionaires overnight. And I see people jumping in the real estate game making a lot of money really fast because they're doing the right things. So if you're like me and you want to actually enjoy Starbucks and you don't want to have to live on top ramen and you want to live a fulfilling life and go on vacation with your wife or your family, then throw away that book and stop following the people that tell you you have to wait. In fact, my wife and I just celebrated our 9-year anniversary where we were in Cabo, Mexico, and we stayed at the best hotel. We took a private plane home. We spent a lot of money. We really enjoyed ourselves and we didn't feel bad about it. And this is a very big difference from where I was 9 years ago when we first got married. Back at that time, I was a minor league baseball player making $1,200 a month. And it's not like my wife was doing any better. She was still a student at UNLV where she was getting her degree to become a teacher. So at this time, we were literally broker than people who were in poverty. We weren't getting any kind of welfare, government aid, or anything like that. She had just turned 21. I was 24. I didn't have any kind of skills that could make me money. But we were in love and we decided we would figure it out eventually. And it's funny how faith works because soon enough after getting married, I furnished our entire apartment from used furniture on Craigslist. It ended up costing me about $1,000 and I remember sitting in the apartment thinking, man, I got such a good deal on all this furniture. I bet you if I were to sell all this right now, I could probably get $3,000 for it. And that was when the light bulb clicked for me. If I were to just go find used furniture on Craigslist for a good deal like I did for my own apartment, what if I were to do that every single day and sell that furniture to other people? Well, I ended up testing this theory and bought a couch on Craigslist and brought it home. My wife, Mindy, was a little bit confused because we already had a couch and I told her I was gonna flip it and make some money. Lucky for me, I ended up being right and I sold that couch and made a $200 profit and the rest was history. I ended up buying a used truck, renting out some storage space, and sure enough, I was making $1,000 a month flipping couches, then I was making $2,000, then $4,000, all the way up to $8,000 a month. And that was my first successful endeavor at making money as an entrepreneur. And little did I know at the time, it was also gonna be my first viral video when I got serious about making content. But nonetheless, after a year of flipping couches, I kind of was starting to get burnt out because I realized it's not really that glamorous of a career. When my friends and family would ask me what I was doing for a living, I was more proud to say I was a baseball player making $1,200 than I was a couch flipper making $8,000 a month. At the time, side hustles and couch flipping weren't cool like they are today on the internet. But eventually, all of this led down to my house flipping journey. On our 1-year anniversary, my wife and I went to New Orleans to go celebrate. And it was during this time I started reflecting on our first year of marriage, and I just started praying for where I should go. Because truthfully, I was pretty lost in what I wanted to do. Baseball wasn't really working out the way I had hoped. Couch flipping was making money, but I didn't necessarily enjoy it. And I wasn't sure what else I was skilled at. But during that prayer, I heard God calling me to go into real estate. Now, to back up a little bit, I had already gotten my real estate license 5 years prior in 2010. Without getting too deep in the details, I was a terrible agent, I didn't make much money, and I eventually just quit. I kept my license active, but as I said before, I ended up pursuing couch flipping and just hustling that way because that was making me the real money. But despite that failure, I felt the calling so strong to go back into real estate, this time just on the investing side. And through a series of pretty miraculous events, I ended up finding this website called Bigger Pockets. And it was here that I started reading about things like wholesaling and hard money loans and private lenders, things that I had never heard before, things they don't teach you in real estate school. And it just opened up my mind to all the possibilities of real estate. At the time, I was just living in this box of that you had to be an agent. That was the only way to make money. And if you wanted to flip a house, you got to have all this cash on your own and buy it yourself. Well, Bigger Pockets helped me see that that was not the only way to get into the game. There were a whole bunch of other ways that you can go make a lot of money without having any of your own. And so on our 1-year anniversary, I started listening to every podcast that they had. I bought a couple of their books, and by the time the trip was over, I was fully committed to becoming a house flipper. So I got back home and I started looking on the market trying to find my very first deal. Well, after a couple of months, I ended up finding my first deal and I got a hard money loan to fund the majority of it. The only problem was I still didn't have enough money for the down payment. And so my wife and I ended up applying for a bunch of credit cards. And when I say my wife and I really mean that I applied for credit cards and I applied for credit cards under her name, but she was cool with it, but don't worry about that. And we ended up getting about $50,000 that we could access of credit. Well, I didn't waste any time going into it. Most of those cards had a 0% interest rate for 12 to 18 months. And so I knew I was gonna be playing with free money for this time of investing. And so I did a balance transfer to get all of that credit in the form of cash, and that's what I used for the down payment on my very first house flip. Thankfully for me, that first flip worked as well as you could have ever imagined. As you can see from the picture here, I bought this house for $99,000 in March. Because I was a realtor, I was able to get a 3% commission on top of that, so really, I was getting it for about $96,000. Now, if you look at the picture next to this, it shows I relisted the house just a couple of days later. The reality was the house was in great shape. It just needed to be cleaned up a little bit. I probably put $1,000 into renovating it and getting it clean, and I relisted it for $135,000. If you just look at the pics, they look the exact same. I just took better pictures and cleaned it up. And within a couple of days of listing it, I got a full price offer that I was really excited about. At this point, I just couldn't believe this was all happening so perfectly. I thought for sure maybe the buyer would back out or something like that. It all seemed really too good to be true. But sure enough, they kept progressing with their loan, they got approved, and then within less than 2 months, I had completed my very first house flip, sold it, made $25,000 in net profit, and my life was changed forever. That $25,000 represented the proof that I needed, and it was kind of like my faith being rewarded. From there, I just kept redeploying all of the profits I had into the next deal. I still kept my credit cards maxed out so I could buy more and more houses. And in that first year, in 2015, I bought 5 flips. After that, going into the next year, I ended up buying 20 flips. And the year after that, I bought 50 houses. And within those first 3 years of getting into the game of real estate investing, I had become a millionaire. And since then, I flipped hundreds of homes, I've bought hundreds of rentals, I've started a bunch of other businesses outside of real estate that have made millions of dollars. It's just been a wild ride. But the crazy thing is, I am not the only one who's done this. I've got many friends who have done it quicker than me. We've had students in my coaching program that have done it way faster. And truthfully, it's so much easier today to get started because of the wealth of information and how connected we are as a society. If you want to go find other real estate investors in your market, it's pretty easy with social media. If you want to go figure out what kind of mentorship or coach you want, you can find them with social media. If you want to learn how to flip houses, you can look on YouTube and learn for free. All of these things didn't exist 10 years ago in the way they do today. So if you're just getting started with $0 or even a little bit of money, in my opinion, there's never been a better time to start in real estate. But here's the thing I've seen from most people and why they don't start. They all have some kind of fear that's holding them back. Maybe it's the fear of not having enough knowledge. They're scared that they're gonna make a mistake or buy a bad deal. Truthfully, that is gonna happen. I still make mistakes today. I still buy bad deals today. In fact, with the market being much slower, we're gonna lose money on some of the flips we bought, and that's part of the game. But it's through the mistakes and failures that you learn the most lessons, and they make you that much stronger going forward. Speaking of the market, a big thing I hear from people now is they say, well, the market's gonna crash, I can't get into it right now, I need to wait. To which I would say that is completely false. Since I got into real estate in 2010 as a realtor, I've been hearing every single year that the market was gonna crash and it wasn't the right time to buy. And if you look back into 2010, that was the best time to buy with houses at all-time lows. People still somehow thought it would go lower even though they were as low as it could possibly be. But even if you think that's an extreme example, look back at 2020 during COVID. Everybody thought that the market was gonna tank with COVID, and sure enough, we went on the strongest run we've ever seen in 2 years. And now you see much of the same thing. People are really scared, and it's like you can't win one way or the other. For the last few years, people are saying the market's too hot, I don't want to get in it, I don't want to bid against all these people, it's too competitive. Now it's slowed down significantly, and people say the market's too slow, it's going to keep going down, I don't trust it, I can't get in it. You cannot be a fair weather investor or entrepreneur. There's no scenario where it's just the perfect setting. It's neutral. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. If that's the only time you can invest, then you're just a crappy investor and a crappy entrepreneur. Good business people find out how to make money in all different scenarios of the market, of innovation, whatever is going on. They find a way to win during that time. They don't just sit on the sidelines and do nothing. And even the people that you see potentially sitting on the sidelines are working on something, preparing for something big. They're not just waiting for somebody else to tell them it's good to go in. So if you're just trying to get started in real estate today during this time, here's what I can tell you is the difference between people who succeed versus those who fail. The ones who have success take hyper-focused action. They all committed to dominating just one part of the real estate game. I've seen people who committed to just wholesaling real estate and they crushed it. I've seen people who've just committed to Airbnb and did really well. Others chose multifamily or commercial real estate. For me, it was house flipping. I dedicated the first 5 years of my real estate investing career to figuring out how to find more deals, raise more money, and manage construction on all of these renovations. The way that I found deals initially was through the MLS and buying directly from wholesalers. I wasn't spending any money on marketing. I was strictly just trying to hustle. I was trying to build relationships and get as many free deals as I could. As things started to scale in my business and I wanted to start doing over 100 deals a year, I knew I was going to have to start spending money on marketing and going direct to sellers. And so we opened up that department. I hired a marketing manager. We started cold calling. I hired sales reps who could close deals, so I wasn't the only one having to close all of them. And sure enough, by opening that department, we ended up scaling, and now that's been our main source of deals for the past few years. It's funny because every year I've been in business, it's been a very different way that we've always adjusted and flowed. But like I just said, the market is going to present you different opportunities, and good investors and good entrepreneurs figure out the best way to capitalize on it. The same thing is true for how I raised money on how to buy all these house flips. Initially, I was maxing out my credit cards and getting hard money loans. After building my reputation and getting some deals under my belt, eventually I was able to raise private money and start having other people fund all my deals, and I didn't have to put any of my own money into any of them. And it was from there that I was able to start buying more houses and making more money. And those same investors have been with me investing for years, and they've made millions of dollars in interest. We've done profit splits, and now they're starting to invest with me on my big apartment deals with my fund. But along the way, I also ended up figuring out how to manage construction despite not having any experience swinging a hammer or actually fixing up a house myself. I've never remodeled a bathroom, I've never fixed a toilet, I've never put down any flooring. I literally don't know how to do it to this day. And I definitely made a ton of mistakes in hiring contractors. I made a ton of errors in picking finishes. I made errors in paying contractors and having them run off with money. But eventually, I figured out how to do things the right way, how to get scopes of work, get releases, pay people in the proper way, and I figured out how to find reliable contractors, some of which who have been with me for many years now. But I was only able to do that because I was hyper-focused on building my house flipping business. You see, I talked about how I love social media and how it brings people together and connects them and it gives them so much knowledge. The only problem with that is it makes people chase too many different things. So many people come to me and they say, Ryan, I want to have a Turo business. I want to get an Airbnb. I also might want to start wholesaling. And I always say, no, if you have not made $1 million doing one thing yet, you're chasing too many things. Figure out how to master that one thing. If you can just do that and dominate it, you will become a millionaire extremely fast. And for me and many others, we dominated in real estate investing. Just pick one thing, dominate it, and you'll become a millionaire really fast.